So you sit down on Sunday, you open up your planner, hopefully it's one of mine, and you look at your calendar and begin to map out the perfect week. You know exactly what you need to do. And then by Wednesday, it's already completely off the rails. That massive to-do list is barely touched. You feel behind. You're wondering, what happened? I had a plan. If that feels familiar, you're not alone. And the good news is you don't need more discipline or a fancier planner. You need a just slightly different approach. And by the end of this week's episode of Weekly Momentum, you're going to have a 4-step framework to build a weekly plan that you can actually get done. So come on in and let's get in momentum. You know that feeling, the feeling of a derailed week? That is one of the most common frustrations that I hear from my clients. It's this vicious circle. You plan, you fall behind, you feel guilty, and then you promise yourself, "Well, next week is going to be completely different." But the problem isn't your motivation or your determination. The problem is that your weekly plan doesn't account for reality. And let me be completely honest with you here. Part of what is happening here is what I like to call time dysmorphia, meaning we think something is going to take, say, 30 minutes, and it takes 2 hours or more. Or we look at a week and we go, oh, yeah, I can totally fit all of that in. And then in reality, there was never enough space to begin with. I'm guilty of it as much as the next person. In fact, that's why I created all of the tools that I did. So what do? What happens when we get ourselves in this pickle? We overpromise to ourselves. We overpromise to clients. We load up the week. And then all we can do is underdeliver because there's nothing left. Not because we're lazy, not because we don't care, but because the math was off from the beginning. So one of the simplest tools that I've created, you might have heard me talk about it before, that will help you with this is called the 3X rule. Now, it's so ridiculously simple. Whatever you think about when you think about doing something and you think how long it's going to take, triple it, 3X it. At least while you're getting into the habit of shifting this and building the muscle of underpromise and overdeliver. Because most people are wildly underestimating how long things actually take, especially anything that is creative or strategic or maybe in your zone of genius, one of those things that you do really, really well. And why would you take away some of the joy from doing something by giving yourself less time? This one shift alone, it starts to bring you back into a place to plan, which is more grounded in reality. Because when you stop over-promising your time, you stop putting yourself in a position where you're just under-delivering on your week, week after week. And that's when we can start to begin to change things. And it's a huge aha moment when I start working with clients and I start to get them into this groove. Now, we all fall off the wagon, but once you understand the premise of this and you begin to feel what it feels like to underpromise, you're going to crave it and you're going to be able to recalibrate yourself whenever you get off track. Now, this area of time and underpromising and over-delivering, it's just one area where I noticed there is a tendency for things to break down. There's a gap which we keep getting stuck in rather than being in that CEO mode. And the challenge is most people don't actually know when or where things are breaking down. They just know something's just not working quite right. They might feel perhaps behind, or they feel scattered, or they feel like I'm doing a lot, but not getting a lot of traction. Now, if I asked where specifically is the gap, most people can't answer that. And that's exactly why I created the CEO Mastery Checklist. It's a really easy diagnostic tool that I use inside my free training, the CEO Shift. Because being a CEO isn't just about doing one thing. It's how you lead, it's how you plan, it's how you sell, it's how your business actually runs day to day. And these are all little systems. Today, we're just going to look at one of those areas. I complete what I plan. It may seem so insignificant, but if that is not happening, it doesn't matter how good your ideas are. It doesn't matter how motivated you feel on Sunday. By Wednesday, you're behind again. And that's exactly what we're going to zero in and fix today. So if you're listening to this and you're going, that is so me, then please go ahead and watch the CEO Shift. It's my free training, and you can use it to help you decide and define where your business is working and where it's maybe quietly breaking down. Most of us, myself included, are trying to cram 60, 70, 80 hours of tasks into a 30 or 40-hour week. We're just overly optimistic. We're excited. We're enthusiastic. We're determined about how long things take. We don't budget for the unexpected, and there is always unexpected. And we tend to treat every single task as if it's a top priority, which is a bit of a danger zone to be in. This creates a capacity gap, the space between what you plan to do and what you realistically have the time and the energy to do. And when that gap is too big, your plan is destined to fail before you even start. So today, I'm going to walk you through how the weekly momentum process, and that, as a reminder, is rewind, realign, plan, and plug in, can help you to close that capacity gap for good. Weekly momentum is your reset moment. It's your chance to pause the busyness, step out of reaction mode, so you can step into the next week and lead on purpose. This week and every week, you can activate the momentum code. Know what you want, say what you want, and do what you say, because the feeling of that is unbeatable. Now, if you're new to the weekly momentum process, make sure you grab Momentum 101. The link's in the description below. It's your quick start with all the worksheets and how-to videos, so you can follow along with what we're doing and start building weekly momentum as a habit right away. And once a month, I host a live Plan Your Week with Me session. It's free, and you can register for reminders and check the upcoming schedule in the link below in the description. Weekly momentum, I hope you're starting to see, isn't just planning. This is where you look inward, you celebrate what's working, tell the truth about what's not so you can make a change, and choose how you want to show up next week. Every week is a chance to upgrade your thinking, your decisions, your actions, and to shift out of busyness, burnout, and scattered energy. And instead into clarity, momentum, and time freedom. Because this is a weekly habit to build systems, not just create more busyness and activity. And if your business only works when you're working, you don't have a business. You have a very demanding job. This is your weekly dose of momentum. It's going to help you lead your business like a CEO. Every week, you're going to run the weekly momentum process, and it starts right here with Rewind. This is where you debrief the last week. Inside your planner, I give you 7 simple questions to walk through this. And if you don't have that yet, once again, you can download the worksheets and learn more about them inside Momentum 101. The link is in the description. Now, one of the most important parts of this process of rewinding is identifying at least 3 do-overs from the last week. Not just what didn't get done, but what would you do differently next time? And right now, I want to help you with that specific part of the process. Before you can plan for next week ahead, right? You have to get brutally honest about the week that just happened instead of just glossing over it and moving on. So I want you to grab last week's to-do list, the one that you planned and beautifully got excited about on Sunday, but maybe by Wednesday had gone off the rails. That's okay. I want you to grab it, and I want you to look at all of the things, however painful it might be, that didn't get done. The tasks that got maybe pushed to the next day and the next day and the next day, and then maybe just bam, fell off the ledge of the week entirely. And don't stop there. Don't just look at what didn't get done. Ask yourself, why? Did a client emergency pop up last week? Did a quick 5-minute task end up taking 2 or 3 hours? Did you run out of creative energy by 2 p.m.? I want you to be a detective here. Most of the time, the undone tasks fall into a few different categories. So let me give you some ideas here. First, you got the someday tasks. These are the tasks that you'd like to do, like update your website, maybe your bio, or research a new piece of software, but there's no real deadline and you aren't connecting them to any immediate goals that are going on right now. So there's no urgency. What they tend to do, these someday tasks, is they just clutter up your list and make you feel busy. The second group that you have is overly ambitious projects. You wrote down that you were going to redo the entire website ready for a big product launch, but you didn't break it down into the 10 smaller steps it actually requires. So, of course, you didn't do it because it's not a task. It's a multi day, maybe even a multi week project. It's overly ambitious. And when we do this, this is what I call the ambition trap, where all of your good ideas are actually pulling your resources in too many different directions at once. You've got the ambition to do amazing things because you are ambitious. But when you're trying to do them all this week, that's just a recipe for overwhelm. The ambition trap is too many good ideas and not enough resources. Now, I want to be clear here. The goal about this rewind right now and identifying do overs isn't to make you feel bad about what you didn't accomplish. It's to gather data. You're looking for patterns. Where did you consistently underestimate your time? What kinds of tasks, I gave you some ideas there, consistently got pushed? And from that data, this is where you ask, what could I do differently next time? That is your do-over. So I want you to identify specifically this week at least 3 do-overs right here in this area, specific adjustments you're going to make going into the next week. Maybe it's next time I'll block double the time for this type of task because last week you saw that it took longer. You might tell yourself next time, I don't put someday items. Remember those ones I just talked about? On my weekly list. Next time I break a big project down into actual steps before I schedule it. This data and these do-overs are the key to making your next plan and your next week more realistic. And if you're able to do that, there is a lot better chance that you're actually going to accomplish what you write down on the plan. And here's how you really lock the do-over in. Turn each one of them into a simple if-then statement. Next time this happens, I will take this action. So it sounds like next time I think something will take 30 minutes, I'll apply the 3x rule. Or next time I start to overload my list and I notice, I will come back to my top 10. Next time I write a project down instead of a task, as soon as I realize it, I will break it into steps before it hits my calendar. This is how you stop repeating the same week over and over again. Because instead of just noticing what didn't work, you're deciding ahead of time what you're going to do differently the next week. You're arming yourself with everything you need to set yourself up for success instead of failure. Now, once you have that data and your do-overs from your rewind, now it's time to realign. This is step 2. And the main point of this step of the weekly momentum process is to make sure that your week is actually lined up with your bigger goals, like your annual goals, your 90-day plan. So before you do anything else, I want you to physically, yes, physically, pull them out, your goals, your plan. Because most people set goals and then they don't look at them again. And then they wonder why their weeks feel disconnected. So take a moment and ask yourself, as you look at them, you've pulled them out, right? Am I on track? Is this the direction that I said I wanted to go in? Now, let's realign your week to match that. This is where we address one of the biggest mistakes in weekly planning, trying to treat everything like it matters equally. The truth is, out of the hundreds of things that you think you need to do each week, only a handful of them will actually move your business forward this week. The rest is maintenance, administration, or just noise in the background. So instead of asking, what do I need to do this week? I want you to ask yourself a better question. What would progress look like towards these goals, the ones you just pulled out this week? Not everything, not all at once. What would just progress look like? Because when you define progress, you make better decisions. And naturally, you just stop trying to do everything and you start choosing what actually matters. This is going to help you make much better choices in the next step when we build your plan. And I want to make it really clear. A task might be to work on a sales page or a PDF for a new product or service. Progress is to finish the first draft so I can get feedback. Do you see the difference? It's subtle. Progress has a clear direction. It creates momentum. Most people think they need more discipline, to push through the endless list. But this is actually part of a bit bigger pattern that I see across almost every business owner I work with. We get so caught up as business owners in being busy that we lose sight of a few of the activities that generate really the most value. And this is one of those moments where it looks like a small issue, but it's actually pointing to something bigger in how your business is structured. Now, if you feel like you're constantly fighting the same battle every single week, it's because the system itself is the problem. So, to combat that, in this step, now we have defined what progress looks like this week. We've looked at your goals at the bigger picture, and you've grounded yourself in what actually matters. Now, the question becomes, what are the specific actions that create that progress? Because this is where most people fall back into the same old pattern and recreate the same week. They get clear and then immediately they go back to a giant, overwhelming list. We're not going to do that today, okay? Instead, this is where you move into step 3, which is the plan step. And you're going to build your weekly top 10 list. Not everything you could do, not a never-ending wish list, just the things that actually will move those goals we were just looking at forward, help you make progress. This list becomes your weekly scoreboard that we're creating here, this weekly top 10. This is going to be how you measure, did I follow through on what actually matters, what progress looks at? Not was I busy, not did I check a bunch of things off, but did I move the needle this week? Because before this, in the weeks that you were just hustling and bustling, you were trying to manage the hundreds of things in your head. Now, with a weekly top 10, you've narrowed it down to a focused set of actions that are now directly tied to the progress that you want to make. And that is what makes this next step, plugging it into your calendar, actually work. So let's move into the final step, which is step 4, plug in. Now we get to the fun part. We have the data from the rewind. We've got our priorities from when we realigned and we looked at your goals and we looked at what progress was. And now we have a weekly top 10 from the plan step. Now we take it all one step further because a to-do list without a time slot is just a wish list. So this in step 4 is where you plug your weekly top 10 into your calendar. Not loosely, not I'll get to it. You give it a home. You put it on the calendar. Each item gets a specific block of time. So it looks like Monday, 9 to 10:15, outline PDF that I'm going to create for new offer. Tuesday, 1 to 2:30, figure out the branding for the PDF, colors, font, and the style. You're not just writing it down, you're deciding when things are going to get done. And this is actually where your Pomodoros come back into the game. And if you're going, Miriam, what's a Pomodoro? It's a 25-minute time block of time. If you want to know more about Pomodoros, on my YouTube channel, Get It Done Diva, go ahead and watch. There's a series all about Pomodoros. You'll learn all about them. It's a really fantastic tool for business owners in general. But what I want you to think of in terms of right now is those weekly top 10 items. Each one of them is 1 to 3 Pomodoros. If it's more than 3 Pomodoros, if it's going to take you longer than 3 times 25 minutes, then it's probably more than one line item. And so I want you to now start blocking off those Pomodoros on your calendar so that your calendar reflects the actual work that you're going to be doing this week. And as you start placing things on the calendar, you're going to start to notice something. You only have so much time in a week, or as you might want to call it, so many Pomodoros to spare in a week. That is your real capacity. Remember we talked about capacity gap? Now, not what you wish you had, not what you think you should be able to do. When you do your planning this, when you plug it in, what's actually available is clear to you. And if you're using the 3x rule, you've already built in a buffer. So you're not cramming everything in and it's going to bust out at the seams. Your calendar tells the truth. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week. And if it doesn't fit, it doesn't go in, or it gets moved, or it gets broken down further. So instead of cramming more in, you adjust. You look at the week and you go, what actually fits into this week? What's realistic? And you build your week from there. And this is where you make a big shift. You make the shift from over-promising and under-delivering to under-promising and over-delivering, even to yourself. Because now you're making decisions based on reality. And this is what most people skip. They make the list. It's perfect on Sunday night. They can envision themselves stepping into it. They visualize. They're going to manifest it. But then they never build the structure to support it. And that's why it fails. That's why it falls apart. When you plug your work into your calendar like this, you're not just hoping it's going to happen and crossing your fingers. You've already decided when it will. This is how your week starts to hold. This is how your plans start to stick. And this is how you finally start completing what you plan. So that by Wednesday, yeah, things may have fallen apart a little bit. But it's okay because you've got buffer room and you know the things that are most important are going to get done. So the item we're focusing on today is I complete what I plan. It may sound like just a little insignificant statement, but now you can see that making that happen isn't about trying harder. It's about building a week that actually works. You rewind so that you learn and grow from what happened the week before. You realign so your week is connected to the real goals. You plan so that you're focused on what is going to create progress. And you plug in so your calendar reflects reality. This is how your week starts to hold. This is how your plans stop falling apart by Wednesday. And this is how you finally start completing what you plan. And it feels so good. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, I can see where this is breaking down for me, then your next step is to go deeper. Go watch the CEO Shift, my free training, because what we did today is just one piece. Inside that training, I'm going to walk you through so you can actually see where you're strong, where things are inconsistent, and where your systems might need a little bit more support. And then once you begin to see that, you can see the gaps and you can bridge them. And that's when everything's going to start to get easier. Thanks so much for joining me in this week's episode of Weekly Momentum for Women in Business. I, in case you didn't realize, am the Get It Done Diva, and you are too. I'll see you in the next episode. And hey, if this episode helped you, share it with someone who needs it and hit the subscribe. I'll see you in Momentum.